Hey everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be doing something kind of different than what I normally do. So I asked you guys in my last video, which was a photocard haul, if you guys would be interested in seeing just a video for sleeving photocards, and the overwhelming majority of you all said yes. So I do plan to do that today. I do have photocards right here in the tray. You will notice it's a little bit lower volume-wise than I normally have, so I was a bit concerned in just uploading a sleeving photocards video, even though that kind of was my intention, because I wanted to try to test this out to see if it's worth doing. But because there's not as many photocards as I normally have, I was worried about it being a little bit too short, so to, I guess, accommodate that, we're going to go through some large inclusions today. I have a brand new large inclusions binder that I have right next to me here. It is completely empty as I open it, making sure not to hit the camera. But I have this large inclusions binder. I have another large inclusions binder already. I plan on moving some stuff from those two, or perhaps just one of them, into the new binder. And then I have, as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner here, a whole bunch of larger inclusions that I need to put away still. So it's going to be kind of like an organization video for large inclusions / sleeving photocards. So I hope you guys do enjoy this. It really was like an internal debate with me for the last several days on doing this, because I really do want to do just a sleeving video just to see how that goes and how people like it. But because I was concerned about how little time I would have to yap, essentially, I didn't want to just do sleeving in this video in particular, because I feel like I don't have enough photo cards. So we will do both sleeving and large inclusions, and I hope you guys enjoy. We have so much to talk about. I'm going to talk about ITZY in this video, talk about i-dle, talk about Irene and Seulgi. So there's just so much to get into, so let's get started. All right, so we are going to start with the sleeving portion of the video first. These are all the cards that I have. It's mainly a lot of solo stuff today to sleeve, so I have some ITZY group cards, but I mostly have Yeji, some Le Sserafim, top 3 stuff. I think it's just Sakura and Unche cards, which you saw in my last haul video. These are Seulgi cards. Some are for Accidentally on Purpose, some are Red Velvet associated. Then we got some Chunga cards, which I meant to include in my haul video, I swear, but I forgot to include them. I had them by the time that the haul video came out. I just didn't order them from Mercari Japan, so that's why you did not see them in that video. But I got these from Mercari US, and I think maybe one of these I got from eBay. There's 4 or 5 cards here. Then we have a couple mini cards, and then these are all dupes that I still haven't sleeved and put in my sale trade binder yet, so we're going to sleeve those as well. All right, so I think because we're going to be sleeving ITZY photo cards first, I will start with talking about ITZY and talk about how just absolutely incredible that trailer was the other day that they dropped for their newest release, Girls Will Be Girls, which I think is coming out June the 9th, if I remember the date correctly. So I watched that trailer the first thing in the morning when I woke up, because I think it dropped at 11 a.m. or something. And I was up kind of late the night before, so I slept in, and that was the first thing I watched. And when I was done watching that trailer, I just sat in silence for 5 straight minutes, because I was so blown away by how good the trailer was. I know it's kind of I don't want to get carried away and overhype it or whatever, but it was low-key kind of a cinematic masterpiece, if I do say so myself. It's definitely the best trailer for K-pop, a K-pop group that I've seen probably to date. And I mean, there's been a lot of good ones. Off the top of my head, I remember Oogi's trailer for her solo debut last year. That was really good. The trailer for 28 Reasons for Seulgi's solo debut was really good. But this one kind of it was done in such a way stylistically where I felt it really I don't know, tugged on the heartstrings, or it really resonated with people a lot. And I saw that a lot on Twitter. It was getting a lot of praise on Twitter, which is honestly so refreshing because I constantly see so much negativity on Twitter all the time. So it was really nice to see nothing but just like loving praise for ITZY and how good this trailer was. And from what I've seen, it seems like the general consensus for like what the message is behind the trailer has been Ryujin's heart stopped and couldn't get beating again until she was with all 5 of the members. So she went through things individually with each of the members, you know, Yuna, Chaeryeong, Leah, and Yeji, and her heart wouldn't start beating again. And then when she got to the end and started dancing with all the members, that's when her heart started beating again, which I do think to a degree, like if we think about it somewhat simply, that is definitely a message that you can get from this trailer. But I think it goes even deeper than that, and I think there's even a broader message that I honestly haven't seen. And I kind of just want to talk about that and get to how I came to that, like, evaluation, I guess, or how I came to view that trailer. So for me, to make it make sense, I feel like I have to explain like my full viewpoint. And that is, first of all, just how the trailer was shot and some of the stylistic choices that the director made. That kind of like guided my opinion or my evaluation a bit on just what the trailer was about. I noticed right off the jump, it was kind of going for a nostalgic feeling right away, given the intentionally grainy, like sort of hazy footage that we saw. I don't know if it was like a filter, if it's something that they can do while they're shooting, but I'm assuming it's some sort of post-production filter. I don't know. I'm not really into cameras all that much or know too much about them, but you'll notice throughout the entire trailer, it's kind of hazy, kind of grainy footage, and that's a very stylistic choice, right? It's supposed to represent old-timey nostalgia, 70s, 80s, that sort of time frame, kind of sort of hearkening back to when times were quote-unquote simpler, right? Because what our parents always say, like, man, back in the 70s, 80s, times were always simpler. Times are always, you know, you didn't have to worry about things, da-da-da-da, right? That's what our parents always say. At least that's what my parents sometimes say. So I do think putting that sort of, I guess, hazy filter on the trailer and just giving it that look definitely exemplifies, like, the nostalgia aspect. And I noticed, too, like, during the daytime scenes, you'll notice how bright they make the white colors or just like the sunlight. And I think that's done intentionally to show, I guess, like how hot it is outside. Because you'll notice, I'm sure it's been done in movies before, right? But you'll notice, especially with that grainy footage, that grainy filter, plus with how overexposed the whites are and the camera lens is in those shots, it gives the sense of, without even saying anything or presenting anything, or the actors, or in this case ITZY, doing anything on the camera, you get the sense of it's so oppressively hot, it's so humid outside, it's so, you know, just overbearing type of thing, right? That's kind of the vibe you get from the setting when the director makes a choice like that. And there's definitely plenty of examples of that particular thing being done in movies before. The one that comes to mind for me, because I'm mainly like a horror movie guy, is like Texas Chainsaw, right? So Texas Chainsaw, I don't know if this was intentionally done, because I'm talking about the original one that came out like in the late 60s, early 70s, whatever it was. But I don't know if this was an intentional choice or maybe just a limitation of the camera equipment that they had back then. But what you will notice is the exact same thing. So like grainy footage, very overexposed light when it comes to daytime shots. It sort of gives this, like, I don't know, at least in that movie, it gives this uneasy, oppressive feeling of like, oh geez, something is about to happen, like something bad is about to happen. Whereas in ITZY's trailer, given the context, it gives kind of like a, I don't know, like uplifting, or kind of like, gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe not uplifting. I can't really place a word on it right now, but it just gives like that, you know, I'll say it again, the nostalgia and like simpler times type of vibe. That's kind of the vibe it gives in this trailer. And one of my favorite parts from the trailer, this is another kind of like, I guess, kid movie trope. And this will also kind of further explain my opinion when I get there of what I think the trailer means. But that scene when they're in the diner or bake shop, whatever it is, and they're all literally like putting their heads together, thinking about, I think they're looking at Ryujin's x-ray and they're thinking about like what to do because, you know, the doctor said her heart stopped beating or whatever. I feel like that shot that they used for that, kind of like in a football huddle type thing, that's kind of what I think of. That shot is used a lot in kids' movies, I feel like, because in situations where kids' movies, they have a very solvable problem. They're trying to solve a very solvable problem, but without like the help of adults. You'll see that a lot in those types of movies, right? So for me, The Sandlot comes to mind because it's like, oh my gosh, we hit the ball over the fence. What are we going to do? Well, we're certainly not just going to go up and knock on the door. We're just going to put our heads together, and then you get that shot. And then they, you know, obviously devise a plan to try to get the ball back, right? So for me, with ITZY and this director using that shot, it was kind of telling me, okay, they're coming at this from kind of a juvenile sounds kind of harsh, but I think with everything that I've said, you kind of know what I mean. But they're coming at this in kind of like a juvenile way, a simplistic way, an innocent type way, whatever the problem is, right? So I did notice that as well. And so when it came down to the actual like context of the trailer and what I think might be going on, I haven't seen this, I don't think, at all online. But I think what the trailer is saying is that you need to remind yourself or have things that remind yourself of being a kid. And so I don't think it's necessarily, you know, Ryujin's heart wasn't beating, so she needed all 5 of the members to get it beating again. That definitely factors in, but I just think more broadly, it's you need to have things that remind yourself. I need the other sleeves, hold on. So when you're an adult, you need to have things that remind you of being a kid, just so you can kind of like, I don't know, live life more fulfillingly, I guess. I don't know. Because, and I'll explain this too, as you go throughout the entire trailer, I don't think it's necessarily relevant talking about the methods that the members use to try to get Ryujin's heart beating again. I don't think the activities themselves, right? So like playing tennis, singing, eating food, being scared, you know, all of those things don't necessarily matter. It's just the fact that they did them that matters, right? So it was to show that nothing is working, right? But then when you get to the scene where she goes in her room and she becomes that like, I don't know, inflatable balloon character or whatever, and then falls to the ground, what does the camera immediately cut to? It cuts to a toy under her bed. And then you immediately see her uninflated again as an actual person. She takes the toy, puts it on the bed, and starts dancing. So to me, I feel like that's kind of like the toy is supposed to represent, you know, things that she felt as a kid, feeling free-spirited, feeling innocent, not knowing too much about the world yet, how the world works, da-da-da-da, right? And so then she dances, she runs out of the room, she gets to the street, and what are the first things to greet her on the street? You have basically giant stuffed animals that greet her at the street, that dance with her, right? So I think that, again, kind of like reinforces that idea. And then, of course, you have the whole scene where she dances with the members and all that stuff, and then she eventually, like, her heart starts beating so much that it eventually, like, bursts out of her chest, and, you know, she becomes... I don't really know exactly, because this is where my theory kind of like loses steam, I feel like. I still think it kind of tracks. I'm just not 100% sure what it means when her heart's beating out of her chest and like you see this new Ryujin appear that's like very white. She's got blonde hair, you know, very like angelic, I guess, you know. I'm not really sure what exactly that is supposed to represent. But given how I see the trailer, I'm guessing it might be a way to say, like, she finally reminded herself so much of what she was like when she was a girl, when she was, like I said, free-spirited, had no cares in the world. She finally reminded herself of that, and it was basically like she came out, she brought that out of her by doing all of these things, or by like seeing that toy and dancing with the members and da da da, right? So it could just be a physical representation of her like inner girl within her like woman body coming out. You know what I'm saying? And I do think this makes a lot of sense given that the title of this comeback is Girls Will Be Girls. So I think it's probably a cinematic take on, okay, yes, you start out life as a girl, and I mean, this can go for, I guess, boys too. It doesn't have to be just girls, but you start out life as a girl, you grow up, you become a woman, and I guess, sometimes this happens for all adults. You forget sometimes, what it's like to be free-spirited and open-minded and all of that stuff without a care in the world. That's why it's, very important to have silly hobbies like collecting photocards to remind you of, good times when you were a kid, right? So I think that is what the trailer was saying. At least that's my opinion, given that the comeback title is Girls Will Be Girls. It's basically saying like, yes, girls will be girls always. They have, a little girl in them always. That kind of just reminds them of how awesome childhood was. And like I said, this probably goes for boys and all children too. So it's important to just have things when you're an adult that remind you of being a kid, because if you have nothing that reminds you of being a kid when you're an adult, adult life is kind of miserable. So that's what I thought of the ITZY trailer. I felt like I didn't explain that super well, but it's not like I'm going off a script here and plan this out ahead of time. I'm just trying to piece my thoughts together as I'm sleeving these photo cards. So I do hope you guys understand. I hope I wasn't rambling too much. And let me know in the comment section what you guys think the trailer might represent. If you have different theories, ideas, or whatever. And I mean, we do know a lot of these trailers, at least stylistically, don't really jive with whatever the comeback is. So whatever we see this comeback when it comes out in June, it could be completely different to what we saw in the trailer, but that's kind of like expected, right? So I'm just so excited for ITZY as a whole. It really seems like this comeback is starting off so well, and I'm just so excited for them to succeed, and I'm just looking forward to it so much. But with that said, let's go ahead and talk about another comeback, and that is i-dle's comeback, which I think is now less than a week away as I record this, because today is the 13th of May, I think. Yes, today is the 13th of May, and the comeback is May 19th, so that would be next Monday. I have definitely been listening to Girlfriend quite a bit because that was their pre-release song that they released, unfortunately, just to YouTube. I wish they released it to streaming platforms as well, like they did with Wife, so I could stream it. But I have been listening to the MV quite a bit. I really enjoy the song. I think the MV is so good, and I think, I will agree with what I saw mostly on Twitter about, is that it perfectly encapsulates like what girlhood is supposed to be. And a lot of people said that Soyeon just does that so perfectly, not just in this music video or with her songs, but with all of the past songs that i-dle has done over the years. So I think that's really awesome, and I'm just so glad people are enjoying this comeback. But we do have to talk about the trailer a little bit, because I do have some thoughts. So the trailer for this latest comeback, if you guys remember, came out maybe like a week and a half ago now. Maybe by the time I uploaded, it's been 2 weeks. But it was that video where they're like kind of at like a funeral type deal. There's a casket with the letter G on it, and it's getting like lowered into the ground. And I think towards the end of it, it gets kind of like lifted up and they start dancing and da-da-da, right? I thought that was a really awesome trailer. And I thought it was a really cool way for them to get rid of the G in their name, And one thing that I never knew until this comeback was that they never really liked the G in their name, nor was it really supposed to ever be a part of their name. It was something that Kpop just decided to add like right before they debuted. They were just supposed to be i-dle from the very jump, and then for whatever reason Kpop decided to add this G there, which it is what it is, I guess. But you know, the members said that they don't really, from the jump, they never really liked it, but they just had to roll with it because that's what Kpop wanted. But now they have obviously a lot more pull because they're so successful. And Kpop, you know, they're really the only group I feel like that Kpop like makes Kpop relevant, I think is what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry if there's other like groups out there that Kpop have that, you know, are really talented and whatever. I'm not saying they're not talented. I'm just saying like i-dle kind of is the needle mover when it comes to Kpop. But before I finish talking about the i-dle trailer, we are done with sleeving all these photo cards. So now I'm going to start with the large inclusions. So I'm going to do that, and then we can continue talking about the i-dle trailer. All right, so this is the large inclusions binder, and what I do know I want to do is, because I have so much i-dle stuff, I want it in a binder by itself. And this binder in particular has all of my i-dle stuff plus other groups. So what I want to do is take out all of the other groups of this binder and possibly move it to the new green binder that you see in the top right corner of the frame. And I always need to refresh my memory when I come back to these binders. So it looks like I have i-dle in this binder with i-dle. So I'm going to take all of these pages out. Is there like a good way I can do this without having them go out of order? Let me see. All right, so we got all of the i-dle pages out of there. This binder is now just so empty, which I actually like quite a bit because, you know, i-dle, they always do a ton of inclusions. And now I want to see what the other binder has in it and see if I can take things out of there. So let me do that. All right, so this is the other binder, and it looks like this binder has a whole bunch of red velvet, which that can be the main group in here as well, kind of like i-dle is in the other binder. Then we also have aespa in here. Okay. And then there's definitely some other things in the back here, I'm pretty sure. Yes, okay, so aespa ends right here. And then we have, it looks like Jisoo, maybe Blackpink, Chungha, Le Sserafim, Everglow. Yes, okay, so all of these I'm gonna take out of here and also put in that green binder. All right, so now this binder is just going to be red velvet and aespa, and it is still kind of full, but there's definitely a lot more room to groove in here than there was before, so I'm very happy about that. Besides, I don't think red velvet is going to be getting a whole lot of large inclusions very soon, although I will probably put the solo stuff in here. But we'll see how full it gets in the future. But I think for right now, this is good. I know I'll probably be putting more stuff in this binder today, but we'll just see how it plays out. All right, so now this is the brand new binder. I think it's like a 3-inch binder, like 3-inch spine, I guess. But we are going to put all of the inclusions that I just took out of those other binders and put them in here. And for the sake of time and the things that I want to talk about, I'm just going to put them in one by one because, you know, that's cool, I guess. All right, so back to the i-dle trailer, as I got a little sidetracked there, given the organization that I had to do briefly. I have a lot of thoughts on it because there was a lot of discussion the day of and especially the day after, like what it meant. And a lot of people thought it was them erasing Soojin. A lot of people thought it was commemorating Soojin. A lot of people thought it was a reference to Soojin just directly in some sort of way. I don't necessarily think it was a direct reference to Soojin at all, but I do think, and I want to preface by saying this, I don't mean this in a bad way whatsoever, but when you look at all the MVs leading up to it and you look back at like all the basically teases that they had in them, so like the Tomboy MV, the Nude MV, the Revenge MV, like I feel like there has to be at least some correlation to saying that could be about Soojin, but then there's also obviously a direct correlation to this is just about the letter G and that we don't want it in our name anymore. And I think both can be right? And I think that's something that is lost on Twitter, because Twitter is definitely a place where you have to have, black and white opinions, absolutes, there's no like middle ground you can play on Twitter, because that doesn't get like engagement, right? But from my perspective, I personally think that this trailer and this comeback, I guess, but specifically more the trailer, it kind of just pertains to both. And I know Minnie has since given a fan call, like she answered a question, like what the trailer was about exactly, and she more or less loosely, I'm trying not to drop these, there we go, okay. She more or less like loosely confirmed that it's just about the G, and that can be the case too, but it's like if it was about Soojin, she wouldn't be able to tell you. Like, so it's like, I don't know if people can point to that and say, see, she says it's about the G, we told you so type thing, which I'm willing to believe Minnie. I'm not saying I don't believe Minnie. I'm just saying it can be both, and we don't know. And I think that is the main point of the situation, is that none of us really know. Because if they were to, make something that was about Soojin, they would not be able to openly come out and express it, or deny it or confirm it in any sort of way. They just would not be able to do that. And I choose to believe that the members are still tight with each other. I obviously don't know for sure, because I don't know them personally, but because I'm more of a positive thinking person, I like to believe that the 5 members and Soojin are still tight. They still talk, and they still are very nice with each other, and they still love each other's company and stuff like that. But I also don't know that. It could be they don't talk at all, and we could just all be looking into this like way too much, and that could also be a possibility. So the point I kind of wanted to get across with just talking about this is like, it's possible for more than one thing to be the case, right? If you want to look at that trailer as them, burying the letter G from their name and basically having a funeral for it, and basically saying goodbye to their old selves and embarking on this new journey as fully OT5 and all that stuff, if you want to look at it that way, you can. And if you want to look at it the way where they're, burying or moving on from their old selves because it unfortunately included a traumatic situation with Soojin getting removed from the group, then you can also look at it that way as well. And I think both have some sort of credence, or they both have some sort of validity to those ways of thinking, right? Now, the opinions that I absolutely will not take a stand for is, i-dle is erasing Soojin. They're trying to, get hype and engagement off of her name and da-da-da-da. And I don't agree with any of that. What I feel mostly, because if you're a longtime follower of this channel, you know that, like, I called i-dle OT6. I'm not, shy about that, right? That doesn't mean that, I think that Soojin delusionally is coming back to the group someday, but it's like, of course I'm hopeful. Like, I want Soojin to come back to the group someday, but I'm not necessarily hoping for that, every single comeback that they have. There, I'm sure, are people out there that are hoping for that, and when she doesn't, they probably get upset and angry, and that's probably valid to some degree, but you also have to look at it realistically. It's like, they probably I don't think it's a situation of Soojin going back to Cube, right? Because we've seen it a lot with a lot of groups these days. You don't have to be in the same company to be with a group anymore. You can very easily be in different companies. So to me, it makes sense if they ever wanted to get back together. For i-dle, they can be part of Cube, and like Soojin can still be part of BRD, and like it can still work out, right? But just maybe looking at it from Soojin's perspective, I don't know if she would really want to ever do that. And again, this is just me like speculating. I have no idea what her thoughts are because I do not know her, but she probably doesn't want to go back and work with anybody associated with Cube. Not necessarily i-dle, but just like anybody at Cube, right? So it's probably not happening, but I'm of course, very hopeful in the future that it does happen eventually. If it doesn't, it's not going to be the end of the world for me. I'm not going to like be mad about it or whatever. I'm still going to support both i-dle and Soojin. Like whenever Soojin has had a comeback, like a solo release in the past, you've seen I've done unboxings, I've collected her photo cards, I collect her large inclusions. And the same thing for i-dle when they have comebacks and stuff like that. So I'm supporting all 6 members as much as I can, and I do hope that one day they can reunite. But it's not going to be right now, and I don't think that i-dle changing their name to i-dle is erasing Soojin in any way. I don't agree with that sentiment. So I hope that what I said kind of makes sense, and I hope I explained it in a way that was, understandable, because like I said, not going off a script here. I'm just kind of like shooting from the hip in terms of how I feel about this situation. And I know it's kind of like a level-headed approach to it, and that doesn't play well for the internet, because like I said, it's all about absolutes in the world of the internet. But like I said, I'm hoping for the best. I support all 6 of those women. I will continue to support all 6 of those women. There's absolutely no bad blood from me towards any of them. But in the same breath, I do think it's kind of sad that it seems like every single i-dle comeback these days is kind of marred by these issues. And I can hope that because they finally changed their name and they've re-signed with Cube and all of that stuff, that maybe after this comeback, we can move past that in future comebacks. And like, I also want to say, like, if you're one of those people who were hoping that Soojin eventually comes back to the group and is a part of the group and there's like a happily ever after ending, I want to say like those feelings are valid. And I know that I saw a couple tweets like a couple weeks ago, like that trailer was closure for a lot of those people who were thinking that Soojin could possibly come back to the group, at some time, and they were holding out hope every single comeback, like maybe this is the one, maybe this is the one, maybe this is the one. Those feelings are valid, and you're fine to feel those feelings. But it's just like the reality of the situation is I don't think that she's coming back, unfortunately. At least right now, we don't know what happens in the future. But like I said, I'm going to be supporting i-dle. I'm going to be supporting Soojin. Love all 6 of those girls. And that's just kind of how I feel about it. But with all that said, I have put away all of the large inclusions in this binder one by one. So now let's put away all of the newer larger inclusions into each of their respective binders. All right, so to start things off, we're going to stay in the same green binder that I just put all of these pages into, and we are going to put away all of these Jisoo Amortage larger inclusions. I have 4 postcards there, and then 2 of these Polaroids, and I will have to do, unfortunately, these 2 pocket pages for them because the postcards are a little bit long lengthwise to fit into the 3 or 4 pocket pages. So what I think I'm gonna do is just put the Polas in the 2 pocket pages up here, and then this one down here, and then that'll be the Polas. And then here I'm going to double side these. So these are the same concept. So I'm gonna go ahead and put them back to back and then have them, actually, would it make more sense I think it would make more sense. So to have a full page so that it kind of like looks like this, and then the next page, when we flip it over, will look like that. I think I'm actually going to do this. So I'll put these back to back, make sure that they are lined up okay. And then I'm gonna put this in the top sleeve up here, if it'll cooperate. And then this one, we're also gonna put back to back and put in the bottom. So now we have a full page of this concept, and then we flip over, and then it is this concept on the other side. So that is all I have for Jisoo to put away. I do have one mini postcard that I need to put away for her solo release, and i-dle is in this binder. So let me flip to the front for that. All right, so I flipped all the way to the front because I don't really have a spot in all of the existing large inclusions for this postcard to go. I am kind of annoyed that it's just one postcard and I'm going to be sitting it in a one pocket page, but I don't have anything else to go with it right now, so that's just gonna have to be what it is. So it's gonna sit right there in the binder. It's going to be the first page that we see. And I guess just to like put a little cap on the whole i-dle talk situation, I do just want to say, like, disclaimer, like, the purpose of me talking about that was like not to start any drama, not to like be mean to any of the members or whatever. It's just my thoughts on the whole situation as a whole. So please, like, no drama, no negativity in the comments. That's not the purpose of me talking about it. I just had a lot of thoughts and I wanted to get them out, and so this is a vessel for me to get those thoughts out into the world. And like I said, if you have a different opinion, those thoughts are valid. You're allowed to feel that way. I'm not saying you shouldn't feel that way. And if you guys are comfortable, you can share your thoughts in the comment section below about the whole situation. But overall, I'm just so excited for i-dle to embark on this new, fresh journey. I'm absolutely still supporting them. And then, of course, when Soojin, does her solo releases, I've already supported the last two. I will support any solo endeavors that she comes out with in the future as well. Like, I am absolutely here for all the support. But yeah, so that's the situation. Let's move on to another binder. All right, so we are now in the ITZY binder, and I do have some Yeji Air large inclusions to put away. So I have this film strip here, I guess like 2 film cut thing. I have all of these postcards right here. Those will go on the first 2 pages. And then all of these postcards will go on the last page, which is a 4-pocket page. So let's begin. So for this first 3-pocket page, I'm gonna put the 2-cut film right there since it's vertical. I'm gonna put that one there since it's vertical. And then this one is going to be horizontal up here. So that fits very nicely. Very happy with that. And then this next page right here, I'm gonna put this horizontal postcard up top there. We have this lenticular one, which is kind of cool. You can see a couple different pictures for that. That'll go right there. And then this last postcard can go on the bottom right here. Very nice, like that. And then this last page here, we have 4 postcards, which fit very nicely into each of these 4 slots. So this first horizontal one I'll put there, and then the other horizontal one I'll actually put in the bottom right corner to kind of like mirror it. And then this one I'll put right here since that's vertical. And then this last one we will put in the top right because it is also vertical. That is all of the inclusions I have to store for Yeji Air. I have some Red Velvet and aespa inclusions now, so let me get to those. All right, so we are in our aespa large inclusions section now. I'm at the very beginning. I'm gonna put all of this stuff at the very front of the section because it's the most recent thing that released, so it's gonna go in front of Whiplash. But I do have all of these large inclusions from their aespisode or episode, whatever you want to call it, like Blu-ray, DVD set type deal. So we got a lot of these large inclusions. I set up a 4-pocket page for the smaller, I think like horizontal Polaroids, And then for the postcards, they're a little bit too big for the 4 pocket, unfortunately. They look like a good fit for the 3 pocket, so I have a 3 pocket here for the first 3, and then a 2 pocket so I can put the last of the 4 postcards there, and then the film strip on the bottom. So let's get started with that. All right, so one by one here, we're gonna start by putting in these horizontal Polaroid pictures from the Blu-ray. I'm gonna put in Karina there, and then we're gonna go with Giselle in the top right. And then up next, we're gonna have Winter. And I do also just want to say I am going to chat a little bit about Irene and Silgi and their planned comeback coming up later this month as well. I'm just waiting to get to the Red Velvet section to talk about that, essentially. So gonna put that on hold for the time being, but we are going to get there pretty soon as I put Karina in the top there, and then this one, how do I want to do this? I guess I'll do this. And then we have Winter, she can go right there. And then Ning Ning is going to be horizontal in this 2 pocket page. And then last but not least, we have this film strip, which is gonna go right there. So that is all of the ESPA things we have to put away today. Now I'm going to flip to the front of this binder, I guess maybe towards the middle, I guess. I'll have to think about it, and store some Silgi things. All right, so I'm more towards the middle of this binder now, and I just have Silgi accidentally on purpose things to put away. So I have some postcards here. There is one film strip right there, and then some more like bigger postcards that we're gonna put away. I have a 3 pocket page and a 2 pocket page set up, and I think this is what I'm gonna do with it. So for these smaller postcards, I'm gonna put them in the 3 pocket page. So I'm gonna put this horizontal one up top here. That should fit rather nicely, and it does. And then this last postcard is gonna go right here. All right, very cool. I like that a lot. Then for this page, I'm going to put, since I only have 3 of these big postcards, I'm gonna do the whole back-to-back thing again, and then I'm probably just gonna put the film strip on the back side of the other postcard. So let me do what I'm telling you guys I'm gonna do, just so you guys can visually see what I'm talking about here. So these postcards are gonna go back to back, and then this postcard is gonna go right here, but I'm also gonna put this film strip on the back, which if I flip it, it's gonna flip this way, so it'll show that way. So I'm gonna put it in like this. Okay, and so then that looks like that, and then we flip it over, and that looks like that. So I'm pretty cool with that. That's all I have for Silgi's Accidentally on Purpose. I guess to talk really quick about the Irene and Silgi comeback that is scheduled for May the 26th. I have seen quite a few of the teasers for it. I think they've shown like a couple clips as well. I'm very, very excited. I'm very intrigued at like what direction that they are going to be going in for this. They haven't really given us a lot yet in terms of like developing theories and like guessing what it could be and, you know, that sort of stuff. We haven't gotten as much content as we've gotten for, you know, like i-dle or ITZY, for example, which is fine. That's cool. They probably got more things coming up in the future on future teaser days, I guess, when they release things. But mainly the things that I've seen about that release has been they foreshadowed this release because it's called Tilt. They foreshadowed it if you look at the O in Monster in 2020 in the Monster logo, the O is tilted. So people were saying like, oh, they foreshadowed it by doing that. And then if you look at the teasers specifically, for this new comeback, Tilt, you'll notice that the positions that like Irene and Silgi are in are reversed from what they were for Monster. So they have a lot of similar pictures in terms of like the poses that they're doing, interactions that they're doing and whatnot. And you'll notice that the roles are reversed in this comeback. So I'm very excited. It definitely, like I said, is intriguing. I definitely will be getting those albums. We'll be doing an unboxing. I probably will collect a full era for that as well for both Irene and Silgi. So just super, super excited for that. We're going to be getting very busy these next couple weeks with unboxings and things of that nature. So I'm all done for today. Let me pick a page to end on and do a quick outro. All right, so that is all I got for this kind of like organizing large inclusions and sleeving photocards video. I have this tray propped up right here because the glare from the light was like showing and blocking the view of the photocard, so I propped it up just a little bit here just for the outro. I actually really enjoyed doing this style of video because if you guys know me, you know I love to yap and chat about things. So I think this was a really good way for me to just kind of chill and obviously be like in a cozy environment. You'll notice I have the blanket out for this video, but then to just like, divulge my thoughts and, talk through things and, just have fun with this collection hobby and have fun with, all the content that we are getting for all these groups that we like. So I very much enjoyed this style of video. I hope you guys do as well. Like, I hope it's entertaining to some capacity. But this video was very refreshing for me to do because there's a lot of things that I want to talk about during like unboxings or hauls or storing videos. And, I just forget to talk about them in the video itself. So this was a very good way for me to kind of prepare what I'm going to talk about and then just sort of talk about it. So yeah, very excited to do this video. Maybe we'll do more in the future if you guys like this. Like I said, please no drama, negativity, or whatever. That is not the purpose of my thoughts and whatever, especially on i-dle. I know that's a very sensitive topic for some folks, but like I said, I'm coming from the best of intentions possible with that. So please, please, please keep it nice. But upcoming videos, I think I might do a storing photocards video next week if I have the time. It shouldn't be too long of a video. This will actually probably be like a 20-minute video max, given the amount of photocards that I have. I might get more photocards this week from like Mercari US and eBay orders, but it's really not going to be drastically that much more. So if I do a storing photocards video, it will be a much shorter video than normal, but I guess any video is better than no video. So if I have the chance next week, I will record that. And then of course, next week begins like the long month span of just incessant comebacks. So i-dle is coming back next week on the 19th, and the week after that, Irene and Silgi are coming back on the 26th, and then 2 weeks after that, on the 9th of June, Itzy's coming back, so you're going to see unboxings for that. You'll probably see a haul video mixed in, and then probably after all those comebacks are done, you'll probably see one big, large storing photocards video. So that's what I have planned coming up for the future. Hopefully you guys stick around for that and enjoy everything, but I'm going to sign off for this video. So if you watched to this point in the video, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you so, so much, and I hope you have a good day or night whenever you watch this, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one. Bye.